Okay, the next thing we're going to do is the wheels. And we need to start out by selecting the inside layer here. We're going to put the wheels on top of that layer there. And we're going to go ahead and select the actual wheel itself first. So I'm going to zoom in here, make it much easier. And I'm going to use a tool now down here that is the ellipse tool. The ellipse tool is very similar to the elliptical marquee that we use up here. However, it draws a path or a shape, but it functions fairly similar. So what we're going to do is we're just going to drag diagonally across here to begin creating our shape here. And if we need to move the ellipse, just like we did with the elliptical marquee, just hold down the shift key and drag the ellipse to where we want. Now we just want to try to get it close here, but we still want to get it as close as possible because this is going to save us some time drawing more later. So I'm going to just get it as close as I can in here, and that's probably going to be good, and I'll fix it later with the direct selection tool. So what it does is it creates a shape here, and it's called ellipse 1. So I'm going to rename that wheel, or front wheel. And it's black because what was underneath it was black, or it was black before. So let's go ahead and make it gray. I'm going to double click inside the fill here, and then I'm going to select this gray here, and we'll make the wheel itself gray. So now if we toggle off the background copy, we can see we got somewhat kind of a wheel thing going on here. Now the reason why I didn't do the tire first is because the whole tire is not here, and it's going to be easier for me to see the wheel, to draw the wheel, and then the tire afterwards, because with a tire all I'm going to do is take the wheel shape and then make it bigger. So once I get the wheel shape down, I can create the tire from that. So I'm going to get the direct selection tool now, and I'm going to start adjusting the ellipse by dragging the handles in and out, down and around, until I get the shape that I want here. So the first thing I'm going to do is just drag the handles out to the edges. And for the most part, those are there. And then now I can start playing with the handles, dragging in and out to get the shape correct. Just like we did with the windows and everything else that has a curve here. So I'm just following the outline here. This one, again, you can use the arrow keys on your keyboard to get really precise. And it looks like I did a pretty good job here. So I can toggle this on and off and see what it looks like. And I got a pretty round wheel there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this layer here. I'm going to make the tire from that. Now the thing is, I want the tire actually to be underneath the wheel. So I'm going to have to work on this one and make this front tire. Even though it says copy there, I can leave that, or it doesn't really matter, whatever. Take it off, and I'm going to make this one black, so we'll choose the color of the tire here, and we can see right now if we toggle this on and off, we're not going to see anything because it's underneath. So now what we're going to do, there's a couple different ways we could do this. We could do this by hand and then just drag this out if we want to, or we can transform, Control T, and transform the selection. Now before I do that, what I want to do is select the whole path, and I need to select the path selection tool, and the path selection tool selects the whole path automatically. So then I can do Control T, and I can drag and transform and maintain the shape and the aspect ratio of what I had before here. So this is a way to be a little more precise here. And I want to be careful that I understand that this tread here is something else. It's not part of the tire here right now. And I'm holding down the shift key and dragging from the corners, the corner handles, so I can maintain my aspect ratio. So that gets the whole tire there. And if I hit apply, I should be able to now go and toggle this on and off and see a tire underneath here. And then if I go and double click the hand there, I'll be able to see. I can click outside. Now I can see I have a tire here and I have a wheel, and I can start getting fancier from that. So let's go ahead and do the same thing for the back wheel, or the back tire, back wheel. And let's zoom in here. Now, this is not a very easy task to really make this depth come out of the wheel here. I think I probably have like 30 to 50 layers for each wheel that I did. Well, maybe not that much, but probably about 30 or so layers for each wheel that I did here. So it takes a little while. And it's not just using that the shape tools either. I use a combination of paint tools as well in order to do that. So again, I want to get this as close as I possibly can. And then we're going to get the direct select or path selection tool. Then I was right the first time, the direct selection tool to fix that. So this one's going to be the gray color that I had here. So I would choose the predominant color in here. Click OK. And then we'll call this rear wheel. And then let's get this shape correct first. And drag that one out there. This one's pretty close. That one's pretty close. Bring this one here and then start shaping away. So most of the times it's just dragging in and out with the handles to get the shape right, but sometimes it's a little more. And I love it that I can use my arrow keys to move the anchor in and out, because sometimes it's just really hard to mouse. That looks like it's just this one here. And remember, if you hold down the Alt key and click on the handle here, you can choose them individually. So I think that looks pretty darn good. This one might have to go out a little bit. And I'm satisfied with that. I mean, you can spend lots of time with this, and you can see from my other one that I did spend a lot of time with that. So if we toggle this on and off, we can see we have the basic shape there. And then I'm going to go ahead and duplicate that again. And the one underneath is going to be the tire. And we're going to make this the tire color. And you just want it to be light enough to where you can see it, you know, that it's lighter than the wheel well itself. So that might be a little light, but we'll see what happens from there. And then we're going to transform again. Control T. Oops. Before I do that, what did I need to do? Direct selection, path selection tool, and select the whole path. Control T, hold down the Shift key and drag it out to the tire. And it's okay if it's under the fender well there. So it's just a question of getting it the right size and then adjusting for the shadow and so on and so forth. Okay, that probably looks pretty good. And let's toggle that on and off. Oops, we got to commit the changes. And there's our tire. So it's a little light, the color is, I would say. So we might want to darken it up a little and make it look a little more realistic here. And we're going to have to match the color down here at some point as well. But again, that's just getting the general idea of it. So again, what my tires end up looking like, we'll click on here. There's a tire, there's a wheel. Now what you got to start doing is you got to cut out the spokes here. So if you want to put the spokes in here, like I did on mine, you're going to have to cut those out. So from here, like let's start with the front wheel here. You would go here and select this here with the front wheel selected. We're going to zoom in here. So I'm just going to take this front wheel layer here and I'm going to duplicate it. And then what I want to do is I'm going to transform this one that's on top here. And if I didn't have the whole path selected, I didn't want to do that. So then I'm going to make the outside shape of the wheel here. The lighter shape is what I'm looking at here. So then this is always going to be round here. So now that you have this path the right size, what you're going to do is make sure that you have the path selection tool, have it selected here, and you're going to copy it. Control C. And then you're going to go back to your front wheel layer here. Doesn't matter if the visibility is on or off of this. And then you're going to create another copy. And then on this copy you're going to paste. And then you're going to make sure that this path, once it's pasted here in copy 2, is set to subtract. And now if we look at this, we turn off this front wheel layer, we have kind of like the rim here. And we have that shape. So now when we start drawing the spokes here, we don't have to worry about the curve here. All we have to worry about is this part in here. So we can go outside this shape. Again, we need to make sure we're on the front wheel layer, not the front wheel copy. And when we go and draw with the subtract from shape, we can go up here a little bit where the rim is. Oops, I don't want to do that. Right here. And then follow this line up to here and across, and then it'll keep the curve here without us really having to worry about it. And you might have to put another point up here to stay within the line there. So now when we look at this, we can see that we have this nice curve here still, and the spokes are being cut out there. And we can do the same thing with what's inside there. We can duplicate that layer and then add different shades of gray. And then what it ends up being is something that looks very realistic after you add some shading here and there. So here's my front wheel that I created here, zoomed in, and you can see I have several different layers here, and if you look at it really close you can see it's not totally perfect, but this stuff here is just painted with a brush, and this gives it this depth. So I used a black brush here, I used a white brush here, I blended it using some dodging and burning. I have another layer that's underneath here that I use for the disc. Again, it's all about how detailed that you want to get here. Some of this stuff is just stroked lines here, and then I also made the caliper here behind it as well. But you can see here, here's the first part of the rim here, and then I made another part here as the shadow. And yeah, it's not perfectly straight in real life, and I could probably blend it a little more. And then I made another one here as well. So I actually have like 1, 2, 3 different ones here. I also made one outside here for the tire, so it's darker out here for the tire itself. And then on the tire, I added some highlights with dodging and burning, and I added the tread here as well, just using a brush, a straight on brush, and that's how it gave me the tire there. So I want you to go ahead and do the front and the rear tires as well as you can, and if it's just that you get up to here even without the spokes here, but I just want you to see as much as possible. Do as much as possible, get it as well as you can. And that's it for the wheels and tires.